Raw, real, and just a little dangerous. This is Feral.
I am so thrilled and delighted to bring to the stage my sister in non-sleazy sales. Anybody who tells you that competitors in your business are a curse have not ever gotten to compete with Aleasha Bahr, because people have things that they say about salespeople and people have things that they say about competitors. And when I first met Aleasha Bahr in person and we got to talking about, and on our podcast about sales, I so immediately was just so thrilled to have somebody else in my lane with me, because it had been so lonely and exhausting feeling like I was in the non-sleazy sales stuff alone, that it was like coming home to a long lost sister. So y'all, meet my long lost sister in non-sleazy sales, Aleasha Bahr, author of Black Sheep Sales, creator of Black Sheep Sales. I am going to try to showcase her brilliance as much as possible during this session, which is hilarious because sales is also a lane that makes me want to go but I'm not going to do that because this is Aleasha's time and Aleasha's space, and we know how to share, which is pretty dang awesome. But Aleasha, to start out with the easiest possible question for people that are new to you, the frick are we talking about black sheep for? What is your definition of a black sheep? What does it mean to you to own that as part of your identity, or to reclaim that if you've been called it before?
Yeah, well, that, first of all, thank you, Annie. I love everything that you have to add about sales, by the way. And it is really, the more people that are spreading this kind of message, the better the world is, in my opinion. So there's very few of us, and it makes me really happy that there's any more than just, at least we're not alone. So black sheep, if you've ever had the experience that people told you to do something and you were like, this doesn't feel right. And they were like, it doesn't matter. You need to do it anyway. And that could be like in life or marriage or your career. And you noticed it was going to really upset them if you didn't do it. So you did. And then it didn't work for you. And sometimes people just keep doing it. Ideally, you realize that there's more than one way to do something. And it's not really your problem that someone is upset about it. Like it's this experience that's kind of like, I'm sorry that the thing that works for you doesn't work for me and it seems to upset you. And I found this other way of doing it. And I'm glad that you have your way of doing it. And then we can just both do it our own way. Black sheep, nothing in this world, no innovation or progress has ever happened without a black sheep, because black sheep are the ones who stand up and say, like, I have a question or I have something different. And everyone says, hey, you know what? That's scary and dangerous. And I'm going to need you to sit down and shut up. And sometimes people do. And it's devastating because they probably had something brilliant to share. And there are some who are like, I'm just so possessed by this idea or question, I can't sit down and shut up, and I'm going to continue on with it. And we all benefited from that courage. And my hope is to take black sheep from a negative into a positive, because in a world where we're all trying to figure out how to stand out, black sheep just naturally do, as soon as we kind of reverse the bulldoze programming that we've gotten that we should just ignore our intuition and do what everyone else says. It kind of like the experience you have where people just keep telling you you're wrong, you can start to believe it, and then you sort of lose sight of what is aligned with you. So as soon as you can tap back into that, it's amazing for everyone and for yourself, of course. And yes, the sheep is really cute. This sheep is not angry. This sheep is not giving middle fingers. This sheep is like, I'm doing me and you're doing you, and we're all hanging out and we're all awesome, and your shine makes me shine. And I love this.
Yes, and I love that you said your shine makes me shine, because I think that people think that that's just a pretty phrase when really it's unbelievably powerful sales philosophy. If we are here to solve a problem together, then in both directions, your shine makes me shine.
That's true. Yeah. And honestly, it's pretty contagious. So, like, I'm always like, ooh, share your wins, like, make them rub off on me, you know? Wins are contagious. The more that we're celebrating, the more that we are acknowledging, the more good stuff happens.
Yes, absolutely. And so why do you think sales, I mean, we could talk about this all day. I'm not going to say like, how did sales get a negative connotation, but how do you think black sheep rise against the idea of things being so damn competitive, right? Because black sheep are in their own category, but black sheep are also of the herd when they want to be. Like, they're not necessarily alone. They can have pals, right? But when sales has gotten such an idea of like, it's me, not you, I'm the top of the list. Even if we're competing in our own business, I have to do more this month than last month. I have to close more. I have to handle objections better. I have to get out there. Boom, 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 boom. How does a black sheep handle that competitive kind of need drive? Because I don't see that common in black sheep. And so when someone tells you in order to be awesome at sales, you have to go out there and have that hyper competitiveness, most of the black sheep I know are like, so how do black sheep compete?
Yeah, so it's funny because for so long I didn't really know how to explain that I'm like sales, but not like douchebag sales. And like, but not like that guy that you think of when you think of sales that you hate. Black sheep, in a way, is like the good guys. Black sheep sales, like, okay, so you're just not gonna act like a douchebag. And black sheep, I don't think it's about competition at all. If anything, they're competing with themselves to get better. But the thing about it's like the idea that most people have when they think about being good at sales is that they need to be like charming and high energy and smiley and talkative and say all the right things. And let me ask you, as a buyer, if somebody's super smooth and charming and just like laying it on, do you trust that person or the person who's kind of awkward and quiet and asking a lot of questions? Like, who do you trust more?
I trust the person who is more present with me. And if they're so slick they're not present, I'm out.
Yeah, like, which a lot of times that personality type is in their head about the next thing they're gonna say.
Right? It's just not present. Whereas like the awkward person, at least they're with me. At least they're in it. At least they're making through one way or another, unless they're in a complete coma. Whereas the slickster normally just treats you like a deli counter puller, where it's like, and now I'll do my spiel again. Hello, number 905. Today we're going to be doing this thing. And it's like, you lost me the second you didn't look at me, bro.
Yeah, or didn't ask really good questions. And so people feel like they have to pretend to be that guy. So they get in their head. The awkward, quiet person does get in their head because they've been told that they have to act like this other person. So they're like, am I doing it right? And it's like once black sheep can just lean into what they're really good at, which is their expertise
Yep.
in questions and empathy, it's curiosity and empathy. That's all it is. Then, they're pretty powerful pattern interrupt. The less you seem like the typical salesperson, the more people trust you.
Why do you think I had to name a company the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy, y'all? Sometimes the stigma is so loud you got to spell it out in the name,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and so I think one of the things I love about Black Sheep versus Non-Sleazy is Non-Sleazy just talks directly to like how to not do what everybody else is doing, but Black Sheep talks so much more about how to own who you are in the sales process. And that means like every sense and every step of the sales problem. Haha. I mean problem like a math problem, but process like how do you show up as you and take a no in a way that feels right for you, honors your feelings, and also is professional, right? Like that's an art that most people don't ever ask. How do I accept a rejection? How do I blow out my sales goals? How do I act when things go sideways? How do I act when things are great? And in your own idiom, right? So how do you see I asked you about the black sheep and the response to competition. How do black sheep respond to feast and famine?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot there. So, one of the big things, the underlying themes that really makes Black Sheep comfortable with sales is the philosophy that if it's a fit, it's a fact and there's no selling involved. So, you're able to say, like, hey, if this is what you're looking for with these expectations and this end goal, that's exactly what I do. So, let's roll. There's not really a convincing involved.
Right.
And what was the specific question that you asked?
So I think this question is even like, if it's a fit, it's a fact, it's totally true. And then Carol says, how can you tell when you're losing them because of price? How do you move forward as a black sheep? I can't wait to hear your response on this. Obviously, I have my own, but I think we're going to be pretty damn aligned. So you go first. It is your session after all.
Yes, we are very aligned in this. And so it kind of goes back to the idea of if it's a fit, it's a fact. So if you're losing them because of price, there's a good chance that there needs to be something adjusted in your process and how you're articulating the value of what you do. Because a lot of times people just don't understand the results of the deliverables you have. So a lot of times it's an issue with like, okay, you're getting 3 posts and 2 meetings, and they're like, I don't care. What is the result of those things, right?
Yeah.
But if somebody is genuinely like, they don't care about quality as much as price, then they're not a fit, and that's okay. And they can find somebody who is cheaper.
Yes.
There are people who are cheaper. You can really, once you get clear on who you work best with, who gets the best results with you, then you can really communicate that in a way that doesn't feel like rejection. The question you asked, how do they deal with rejection? It's just like, hey, we're just not a fit because you cared about price more than quality. And that's okay. Maybe you just had a tighter budget, and that's okay.
That's 100%. And Carol said, yep, I've had price shoppers lately. Look, Aleasha's thing is, if it's a fit, it's a fact. Is the price objection a fact or emotion? Sometimes, and traditional sales training will tell you to ignore it immediately. It's a lie. They're full of shit. They could totally afford it. They wouldn't be on the call if they couldn't afford it. That has not been in my experience. That has not been Aleasha's. Sometimes a price objection is just the fact of the day, because maybe in between when we booked the call and when we had the call, we had to go to the emergency vet with our cat. So the money that we meant to allocate, or maybe we thought we had a sponsor for something and then the sponsorship goes sideways. We never know, right? And it's not really on us to know. That's us shopping from our wallet. You should be able to afford this, right? But instead, if it's the factual reality, I cannot comfortably pay for this thing, then you have options, which is, like Aleasha said, point them to a less expensive competitor, downsell them down your ladder of service, do something else. But if in the rare occasion, which does happen, it is just fear, then if you're not listening, you're not going to see that, right? So Carol, my question to you would be, instead of being like, really, you can't afford it? What if you stop drinking lattes, which is what people are taught, to be like, one of the questions I ask is, I understand that's out of budget for you. Did you have a budget in mind when you got on the call?
Yeah, that's a great one. A lot of times they didn't. And so sometimes it can help to say like, yeah, is this like, it's going to be hard to put food on the table and a roof over your head because we absolutely don't want that? Or is it just like it feels tight? So you can kind of understand what we're talking about here. Is this really you just being like, I don't feel like it. I feel, because the thing is, a lot of times people will feel more comfortable spending an amount of money that they're okay with losing. And all of a sudden, when it's a number that they're like, ooh, that would hurt if it didn't work out, they're like, I don't know if I want to do that. So when you understand what we're talking about here, when they say that they just can't afford it, then if it's not like I can't put food on the table or pay the roof over my head, then you can dig in with more curiosity at that point.
What would be a comfortable budget? Where could this money come from? Then you can negotiate, right? Then you can negotiate. But if you're just like, oh, I thought you could afford this, and or I guess it's over, like price objection conversation over. That's what happens so freaking often when it's like, you have other offers. You also have referral partners, right? If somebody comes to Aleasha and they're like, dang, I wish I could work with you, but you're too expensive, then Aleasha can be like, buy my book, take a DIY program, or hire my friend Annie if you need one-on-one support, because I am cheaper than her. So one of the great things about hanging out with your friends in your lane, you know that, so that if you're like, gosh, this person really needs help, but they're not right for me, cool, who are they right for? And if I meet someone that needs more advanced stuff than my training, I'm like, hey, listen, you're going to pay more than me, but you need Aleasha Bahr. And because I've said you're going to pay more than me, but you need, because I've built that trust transfer, it works, right? So what's the world around the price objection, right? I think the black sheep honors more than just the statement, more than just the phrase. Yeah.
Yes, it's about understanding. So for mainstream sales, the only goal in a sales conversation is getting more yeses. Everybody is a yes. If they have a pulse and a credit card, they're a yes. And the black sheep, the only goal is to understand what the hell the person wants and needs, and if it's a fit for what you offer. And if it's not, that's okay. We can link them with who is a good fit. So everything is really met with curiosity. Like, is it really like, let me understand, let me get clear. Let's get clear together. Because if I'm getting clear, then the person's getting clear. Because have you been on a sales call where everything's just sort of jumbled in your mind as a buyer? You're like, I don't even know. So it's almost like a gift to give people that kind of clarity. Like
Yes.
the amount of times that people are like, "Oh, I don't have enough time for it." And you're like, "Oh, well, how much time do you have?" And they're like, "Oh, well, I have this much time." And you're like, "Oh, well, actually, that's more than enough." And they're like, "Oh." And
Mhm.
just people have different ideas of what's actually happening all the time in their mind compared to reality.
I freaking love that. Carol asked a great question in the chat and then also responded about this idea of like asking what's a comfortable budget. And Carol said she gets a lot of looky loos. And I feel like a lot of us get a lot of looky loos because what we do is very intimate problem solving work, right?
Mhm.
So many of us. And so it takes time to build up trust. A lot of us are in crowded markets. It takes time to outlast the competition. It takes time to win, right? And so the looky loos, as annoying as it can be when your whole sales roster is looky loos, there's also something about showing up with generosity for the looky loos. And to your point, showing up with curiosity, because a lot of the time you can find a way to work together even after you get the price objection. Whereas once you get the price objection, if you're just like, okay, cool, then bye, you're done. Right? Conversation over. And that also, I think, goes not just for financial objections, but for really any fact based objection that is factual for them, but negotiable for you.
Yeah, any objection, I would agree. And also, like, if you're getting a lot of looky-loos, I find it really helps ahead of time to have them fill out a short form. And I know that some people are like, I don't want them to not book because they have to fill out a short form. They can't take 5 minutes. They're not a good fit for a client. But in the form, you can ask, like, if everything sounds like a fit to create XYZ result for you, what is your timeline to get started? You can have like just researching ASAP in a month. You can get some information ahead of time to let you know, because what happens when so many people are looky loos and you don't know is
Mhm.
that you start to brace yourself for everybody being a looky loo, and you show up on your sales calls like kind of like, is this person going to waste my time or not?
Get martyred on that. Oh, isn't it so good of me to show up to benevolently grant my time to this human? And it's like, that's not the vibe, y'all.
Yeah, where instead you can be like excited to show up or know what's going to happen. Sometimes you don't even need to have a conversation. You can send them resources in an email ahead of time. So there's a lot of things to kind of protect your time and energy and enthusiasm, because your excitement is contagious. And so is like your lack of excitement because everybody's
Yes.
wasting your time.
Well, and I think Kate said really interesting, like in the chat said, Kate said, I don't like the phrase, and I'm not even going to say it because it drives them crazy, but also like, let's not sell people things that they don't need. And also let's not be racist. I think I think both the non-sleazy sales academy and black sheep sales firmly grab hands and stand together and only sell people what they need and don't be fucking racist. Like,
I mean, definitely. So it's interesting because I was always like a natural at sales. And whenever you ask someone who's natural at sales what they do, they're like, I don't really sell. And it's like, okay, well, what the hell does that mean? And nobody can imitate it. But what they mean is that they'll talk to somebody and be able to say, you know what? You don't need this highest tier option. You would be just fine in the middle tier. Or, you know what? You're not quite ready for this yet. I would go over here and get this taken care of and come back. And it's absolutely magnetic for people because they realize they can trust you. So, like, you're actively telling people, like, your only goal isn't a yes. And as a result, you get way more yeses.
yes. I'm one of those obnoxious people that ask if the wait staff is chill. I don't do this to people that seem like they hate their lives and want to go home. But if we have good rapport with the wait staff, I am very much the person to be like, "Hey, how is the thing I'm about to order?" Or, "Hey, I don't know what to order and I don't want to keep you here all night because you got a million tables. Like, what
I'm
should
that
I eat?"
person.
And
Yeah.
like and it drives some people crazy, and yet Ryan does the exact same thing. Like, we are very much those people. But I never have more respect for anyone than when someone says no to me. Like, oh my God, if I'm like, "How's the salmon?" and the server looks at me and goes,
Don't
"Hmm,"
do it.
not
Like,
even don't do it, just like,
thank you thank you so much.
Dog in the restaurant, they're not saying you're going to get food poisoning. They're not being like, wink, wink, walk the other way. But if I'm going to have one meal at this restaurant and that one meal is going to have one entree, that person wants me to have an optimal experience. And if I suggest something suboptimal, they are going to sell me something that's not what I wanted because it's what I needed. And in that aspect, it's going to be easier for that person to make a sale because I go, well, I don't want the salmon. The salmon was $26. What do I want? Oh, well, you want the this. Cool. It's 34. All right. That's pretty budgety. He just got an $8 upsell by being honest.
Yeah. It really is so rare that you end up getting so much more, like people come back, people refer you. There's so much more sales that come from it. And with Carol, the time about like bouncing back after the rejection and stuff, it really helps to get clear on who is saying no and the patterns among them. Is it that they are looking to do this 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now? Like those people are the ones who are saying no, so that you can understand when it is the right fit for you. And you can be really clear about that too with people. So I bet there's even other things in them saying no. You know, I've seen people I have one client who really likes working with people that have families. Every time we talk about somebody, he's like, are they married with children? I'm like, yeah. You know, some people just have noticed that these patterns in the people who are really happy with the results and the patterns in the people who are saying no. And then you can clearly articulate, like, the people I get best results with are the ones who want a high touch relationship. The people I don't get the best results with are the ones that are like, I only want to talk to you once a year and they can't get me documents that I need to do my job.
It's kind of crazy how often when you look at things in like immediate retrospect, how often what doesn't feel like it's working for you and the people saying no align as a data point once you look backwards, right? Like that didn't really work as well with the people who blankety blank. Interestingly, there weren't that many of them in my pipeline.
Yeah. So it feels less like it really takes the personal rejection out of it, because it's really just, you can identify the patterns and understand that they have nothing to do with you. It's that
Yeah.
their timeline was different. It's that their needs were different. It's that their expectations were different. It's that their goal was different. It's that their capacity was different than what you work with, not you. You know what I mean?
So Carol says in the chat, Carol, thanks for all these seller questions and for showing up so beautifully and vulnerably. Carol says, I also need to get thicker skin. I'm so in love with the work I do and my brand is so me. It might just take me more time to bounce back after rejection. So how do black sheep handle rejection?
Well, so that's what I was talking about, like identifying the patterns. So then it's really not, it's a rejection. It's just that it wasn't a fit. And that's okay. So, like, for example, the girl that you were just on, the fun girl,
Deanna Seymour.
Deanna. So she's like, some people don't like that I have pink hair and they're not a fit. I had somebody tell me that my headline on LinkedIn is "Stop Selling Like a Douchebag." I had someone tell me it was disgusting. I'm like, this is a great litmus test. Like, that person I am pretty casual and inappropriate. And if you're offended by that statement, we would never work well together.
Which is how Aleasha's gotten more than one client in the adult industry, don't you know? Because the right people look at that and go, I can probably have a safe place to talk about professional sex work with her because her LinkedIn says don't be a douchebag.
That's true. I'm definitely not judging anybody. The no's have come from wedding couples, and that industry is in flux right now. So many people having friends marry them. Okay, so I'm missing some context about what Carol does.
So yes, Carol is a celebrant, so efficient celebrant, and in that industry, the pull to have your mother's sister, cousin's brother marry you is strong, right? Similar to like how you could hire a DJ or you could have an iPod, and people think that those are somehow equatable. If an iPod's what you can afford, awesome. But in Carol's industry, people don't understand the full value of celebrants, and so they're like, well, couldn't my uncle just do this? So Carol's getting a lot of no based on misconception of value, I'm guessing. Could you speak to that, Aleasha?
Sounds like.
How do we do that? Misconceptions of value.
Yeah. So this sounds like they need some education up front before you have the conversation. It's impossible to educate and sell in the same conversation because they have to process the education and then make a decision later. So if you can send them some information ahead of time, like what's the difference between a celebrant and your Uncle Jerry, like you were saying, and you can kind of lay out the differences, and the people that want what the celebrant does. I'm not totally familiar with the celebrant, but it's like if you want I don't know, a custom sermon with really meaningful symbolism that we can add to it, that then you want a celebrant. If you're just trying to like get the cheapest thing, it's not a celebrant. So you can let them know ahead of time. Yeah, the custom ceremony creation. So if you're the type of person who wants this ceremony to be something impactful that you remember for the rest of your lives, you probably want a celebrant. If you're like, I'm doing this part because I have to, not because I want to, then who cares? Don't get a celebrant.
Yep. What I used to say is like, yeah, I could pull your tooth out. You don't want me to, but I understand how a tooth comes out, and I have a string on a doorknob, and I saw that in a cartoon once, right? Like, you hire an expert for an expert job. But I think one of the things that you said that was so fucking phenomenal, I need to go back to it, is that Black sheep honor the fact that you have to take your time. And it's not that churn and burn, pick up the phone, hang it up, pick up the phone, hang it up, pick up the phone, hang it up. It's like, take your time, because you cannot educate and sell in the same conversation, at least not without a damn good transition. And that goes for sales pages, that goes for sales calls. If you're educating, if you're proving, and if you're selling, those are three different muscles, right? They got to work together, but they got to take their turn. So Aleasha, I think that's so key. How do you recommend portioning time appropriately between education and sales?
I like to send it in a video. So, for example, like 3 misconceptions about wedding celebrants. And you let people know, like, a lot of times people are confused about what a celebrant even is. And so I broke down the 3 biggest misconceptions. It's a short video. And you can say at the end, like, can you reply and let me know, does this feel aligned for you? And if not, I can connect you with somebody who is, like, no offense taken. So they can watch the video and understand your selling points without you having to do that that heavy lifting in the sales conversation. So I like sending it in the form of an email.
I adore that. I adore that completely. So Aleasha will be back tomorrow for implementation day. I wish I could keep her here with all the questions all the time about how majestic this is. But the Black sheep is about honoring the salesperson in you, right, Aleasha? Am I saying that right?
Yeah. If you're getting results and it feels good, continue doing it. If it doesn't get results, or if it's getting results but does not feel good, do something different. Because if you're feeling weird, I can promise you the person across from you feels weird.
Abso-stinking-lutely. If they're uncomfortable, you're uncomfortable, we're both uncomfortable. That ain't gonna endear anything. And selling something under duress is a great way to sell it one time.
Or get a refund.
All right. So yes, Carol, you especially, everybody, get thee to implementation day tomorrow. Aleasha is going to be teaching you real strategies. Today we talked about how Black sheep sell differently and permission to be one, to throw out the playbook that doesn't feel of you, and to use that to grow. If you want those actual tactical steps, though, you got to come to implementation day tomorrow. Aleasha's AFI link is in the chat. So make sure you go and get it.
Also, we're going to be doing hot seats. So, and one of the things we'll be talking about is the pre-call education.
I love that.
I can do a hot seat with you, Carol, about like, okay, what should we send ahead of time? What should it sound like? And like talk through that.
I adore that. Thank you for being the most brilliant salesperson I know. I adore you, and the permission you grant is just so necessary. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for the way that you show up. You make it easier for me to show up, honestly.
That's a phenomenal compliment. Thank you. This has been Aleasha Bahr of Black Sheep Sales.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, my love.
Goodbye. Till later.
Raw, real, and just a little dangerous. This is Feral.